Number one, everything when you're at that position, no matter where you rank on any kind of depth chart as a quarterback, everything you do and say is a job interview. In the NFL, every moment. I think the second thing is this. That 30 or 40 seconds, Stephen A., while he may not be an immature person, that's an immature moment. It is. Because does that 30 or 40 seconds help you in your own building? Like, is there anybody in the Cleveland Browns that in that building that sit there and go, yep, that's a good moment for Shedeur. He shows growth or maturity.
Oh, you thought college football hit its drama limit? Guess again. Dan Orlovsky just had a full-blown meltdown, and the internet's eating it up. All because Shedeur Sanders pulled off the slickest, most silent stunt of the whole season. Man didn't even open his mouth, and somehow every sports outlet went into total panic mode. ESPN's losing signal, Twitter's on fire, and fans are acting like the world's ending. Shedeur's silence just spoke louder than any touchdown celebration ever could.
Or he handled that well or whatnot. He handled the disappointment. Because in my opinion, I would have had Dylan Gabriel the 1 and Shedeur the 2 this week. So my question is, why is Shedeur not the backup? We're moving on from Joe Flacco. We're trying to figure out who's the starting quarterback or if Gabriel can be a starter in this league. I want to also know that about Shedeur. So why is Shedeur not the backup? That would be a starting point for me. Is that helping you in your own building? And then is that helping you in your outside of your own building? Is there another team, a general manager, a president, a decision maker that's going, I liked that. I think that person's going to help us. I think that person's a good enough player that could help us. I think he can help our building, our organization, our locker room, make us better. And so while he may not be an immature person, and I agree with a lot of things that Stephen A. said, that's an immature moment.
Dan Orlovsky finally hit his breaking point, somewhere between obsessing over quarterback footwork and sipping on that pumpkin spice latte like it's game film fuel. The man snapped again over Shedeur Sanders. And the wild part, it wasn't even about some crazy touchdown dance or viral clapback moment this time. Nope, Shedeur didn't say a single word. Silence was the move that broke him.
As much as I love me some Shedeur, as hard as I have campaigned for him, I did not love this for one reason and one reason only. It's just going to provide more ammunition for the good old boy network in the National Football League that got together and conspired to punish him and dump him all the way to the 5th round. All those GMs and all those scouts and all those executives somewhere as we speak are saying, see, I told you, he doesn't handle himself the way you have to handle yourself to be a franchise quarterback in our league.
That's literally it. He just kept quiet. And somehow, that simple act of silence sent the entire sports world spiraling like somebody yanked the plug during the Super Bowl halftime show. The chaos was unreal. It's almost poetic when you think about it. Shedeur Sanders didn't lift a finger, didn't say a word, and still managed to become the biggest, loudest headline in all of college football.
As you can see there, he went full mime.
Mime time.
Mime time.
His dad was prime time. Mime time. Listen, he can't exist. If he says something wrong, talks about himself being the QB1, Rex Ryan's going to be like, this guy's immature, he's talking out of school. If he doesn't say anything, Rex Ryan's going to be like, this guy is immature, he's not saying anything. Guy can't exist. It's honestly sad what we're trying to do to this kid. That said, this is like one step above in terms of maturity, just repeating everything that the reporter asked him.
Meanwhile, Dan Orlovsky's out here pacing like he just realized his whole fantasy team got benched for a kicker. The man looked completely lost on national TV, staring into the camera like he just discovered what resting face actually means. He was hungry for chaos, craving energy, waiting for words to dissect and twist. But Shedeur gave him absolutely nothing. The silence had him shook, and the audacity of it made him lose his cool even more.
Somebody in Shedeur's circle that says, hey, be yourself. I just don't think that that's helping you when it comes to you solidifying a role in a job at that spot in the NFL.
The conversation with Shedeur Sanders has to be that you can't be yourself. The conversation with Shedeur Sanders has to be that you can't have fun. In his circle and around his people, they think that that is part of his charismatic personality.
So now silence is a crime? Apparently, yes, because the moment Shedeur Sanders chose not to talk, the media started acting like he was secretly plotting world domination. One reporter even said his silence was concerning. Concerning what exactly? What's next? A wellness check because he didn't tweet for 12 hours? The kid just decided to let his game speak for him, but clearly that broke the media's brain. They're addicted to his every word like they need a quote to twist just to keep their chaos machine running. You can almost hear the dramatic exhale in Dan's voice every time Shedeur's name pops up. It's not even football analysis anymore. It's pure obsession. Funny thing is, Dan calls himself a quarterback guru, but when it comes to Shedeur, all that football wisdom just vanishes. He can watch some random college QB throw an average pass and call it elite potential, but when Shedeur makes that same throw, suddenly it's he needs maturity, he needs humility, he needs something. Basically, Dan just wants him to stop existing in a way that offends his personal football religion.
And I was even hoping against hope that by trade deadline, somebody would get desperate enough to trade for Shedeur and give him an actual shot. And now I'm afraid whoever that team might have been, they're sitting back saying, do we really want that? Rex Ryan blasted him last week on ESPN and said he needs to get his in the front row and study.
How does Rex Ryan know he's not studying?
I don't know. That's a good
Yeah, how you know he's not in the front row not studying, Rex?
I don't know.
Well, somebody told Rex.
Man, nobody told Rex.
Want to bet?
Nobody told Rex. Ain't nobody told you.
No.
Because what you don't know, Rex, is he a football head.
What really pushed Dan over the edge this time was Shedeur's decision to just stay quiet. After the game, the reporters were ready. Mics out, cameras rolling, waiting for another headline-worthy quote, but Shedeur just walked off calm, collected, cool as ever. No words, no drama, no fake post-game hype or brand plugs, and somehow that silence screamed louder than any touchdown dance he's ever done. The media lost it instantly, acting like it was breaking news on national TV. You could practically see the ESPN ticker lighting up. Breaking news! Shedeur Sanders says nothing. The irony was unreal. If he had talked, they'd call him cocky, flashy, too Dion-like. But when he doesn't, suddenly he's arrogant or disrespectful. So which is it? They want him to be the star, but not the story. Let's be real, though. His silence probably shook them, because silence means power. It means control, and control means they can't twist his words or build another headline around his attitude. And that's what the sports media truly fears. When Shedeur stops feeding the machine, the whole system starts glitching out like it doesn't know how to function without him.
That is part of him understanding how to engage, how to enjoy, how to take something that could be seen as a negative, because as Adam Schefter posted, he believes it was in response to what Rex Ryan had to say about the confident answer he had, saying that I believe I can play in this league. Have you seen other quarterbacks in this league? That was his answer to it. That was his response to it. That if I don't say anything, then you can't then criticize me. And in my estimation, my opinion, my advice would be, then actually don't say anything.
That's why Dan Orlovsky was practically combusting on live TV. Man had nothing to grab onto. No quote to twist, no smirk to zoom in on, no body language to overanalyze. Just pure silence. That's when you see how deep this obsession really goes. Shedeur Sanders is living rent-free inside Dan Orlovsky's perfectly gelled head, and it's starting to show. Every time Shedeur completes a clean pass, Dan treats it like a personal insult to the sacred art of quarterbacking, like Shedeur is somehow destroying the purity of the position just by existing. But here's the truth, Dan. It's 2025. We're in the age of NIL deals, viral clips, highlight culture, and quarterbacks with swagger. The game's changed, and Shedeur isn't just playing football, he's redefining what it means to be a modern athlete. Dan sees silence and calls it disrespect, like confidence itself offends him. It's almost like he's allergic to Shedeur's composure. And what's worse, the rest of the media just copies his energy, painting Shedeur like some villain for daring to be talented and self-assured. They can't seem to handle a player who's both skilled, disciplined, and happens to be Deion Sanders' son. It short-circuits their whole narrative. They sit around waiting for him to slip up, craving that one gotcha moment where they can finally say, see, he's not that good. But Shedeur never gives it to them. Instead, he keeps stacking wins. Calm, confident, unbothered. And with every silent victory, you can practically watch Dan Orlovsky lose another piece of his sanity on live TV.
I was trying to pull a Shedeur Sanders there. So obviously, he addressed the questions, but did it in a way where we couldn't hear him speak. He chose to pantomime his answers. Stephen A., when you see that video, what's your reaction?
I'm not going to overreact to it. I'm just going to say that he has to know that other people are going to look at him and consider that immature.
At this point, it's almost pure comedy. Every single week, there's some new concern about Shedeur. One week it's his watch, next week it's his posture, and now it's his silence. What's next? Sources say Shedeur blinks too confidently. You can practically feel how desperate they are to find something wrong with him, because admitting he's actually great would ruin their favorite hate-fueled storyline. And let's be real. If another quarterback acted exactly the same, they'd call it poise under pressure. But when Shedeur does it, suddenly it's ego. That's the double standard no one wants to admit. He literally can't win in the media's eyes unless he stops being himself. But that's the twist. Being himself is exactly what makes him special. And as for Dan Orlovsky's so-called concern about development, please, if Dan really cared about development, he'd start by fixing his own habit of melting down on national TV every time someone younger, cooler, and more successful does something he doesn't understand. Meanwhile, Shedeur doesn't take the bait. No rants, no clapbacks, no angry interviews. He just stays chill while everyone else spirals out. That's what drives them insane. He's mastered emotional checkmate. Every time they try to poke the bear, he just keeps stacking wins, stacking endorsements, and stacking silence, all while the media's losing its mind because their old tricks don't work anymore. They can't bait him, they can't break him, and that's what scares them most.
Get it. I think that was my reaction watching the video. Is like, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't understand what he's trying to do. I don't understand the point of it. I feel very old watching it. I'm like, is this, is there a demographic that's like, hell yeah, we got him. You know, like, good job, Shedeur. You're really stuck it to the man there. Like, I don't know. I'm just like so confused by the whole thing.
Jer, how would you feel if your quarterback was miming?
I wouldn't like it, but I kind of feel bad for him a little bit. Rex Ryan's like, oh, you got to be in the front of the room and first row. I mean, every clip he's in the front row, you know, he's doing what he has to do, you know? I don't know. I kind of feel bad for him.
I think as far as like just execution of the mimery, it was fantastic.
It's almost Shakespearean at this point, and the Quiet Prince driving the whole court insane by doing absolutely nothing. Every analyst turns into a character in this tragic comedy, screaming into microphones about leadership optics, while Shedeur's probably somewhere scrolling through highlight reels of himself, cooking defenses with ease. And the best part? The fans see all of it. They're not fooled one bit. They can smell the bias dripping off every headline. The same networks that hype up average quarterbacks are now out here dissecting Shedeur's body language like it's a top-secret government file. Meanwhile, Dan Orlovsky keeps trying to act like he's the noble truth teller, the voice of reason standing against the hype. But let's keep it real. It's not truth he's chasing, it's validation. He wants everyone to agree that Shedeur's confidence is misplaced, that his success only exists because of his dad's shadow. It's textbook projection from a guy who peaked as a trivia answer on ESPN. And the irony? It's absolutely delicious. The harder they try to tear Shedeur down, the bigger he gets. Every so-called critique turns into free promo for his name. Every Dan Orlovsky meltdown becomes another viral clip boosting Shedeur's brand. The media's out here trying to dim his shine, but all they're doing is handing him more spotlight. It's like trying to put out a wildfire with gasoline, and Shedeur just keeps standing in the middle of it, calm, unbothered, and winning.
Shedeur Sanders' mime routine completely disrespectful, or one of the funniest things we've seen from an NFL player? If you don't find this funny, you need to go out and get a breath of fresh air, because this is absolutely hilarious. We could have had the lame quarterback thing where they figuratively say nothing. Oh, I'm happy for Dylan Gabriel, blah, 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 blah. But instead, he literally said nothing. That is just chef's kiss, just a piece of comedic gold. A lot of people will be like, oh, this is why in the pre-draft process they didn't like him, this is why he didn't get drafted high. Who cares? Shedeur Sanders obviously doesn't care.
The reason they keep turning on him is simple. Shedeur doesn't play their little media game. He doesn't beg for validation, doesn't chase approval, and definitely doesn't feed into their tired narratives. Worst of all for them, he doesn't need them. And that's the ultimate insult to an industry that survives on control. When an athlete becomes his own brand, his own voice, his own platform, he becomes untouchable. That's exactly what Shedeur Sanders represents, the new wave of athletes who don't wait for permission to be great. Dan Orlovsky and his crew, they're the old guard, the ones still stuck believing that respect comes wrapped in silence, fake humility, and cookie-cutter press conferences. They want Shedeur to be grateful, not great, and that's what drives them absolutely crazy. Because in their world, words are currency, and when Shedeur withholds them, the media goes broke. Suddenly, you've got journalists writing dramatic think pieces titled, "What's going on with Shedeur?" Like he disappeared into witness protection, when really he just walked away. Calm, collected, no drama, no show. That silence was the loudest message yet. Louder than any quote, louder than any press clip. It said he's done explaining himself to people who already made up their minds. Shedeur's not playing their game anymore. He built his own arena, and now they're the ones watching from the sidelines trying to keep up.
Now you live in a world with grown men who don't quite care who your daddy is. And you can either act like a professional or you can act like a clown. So make a decision. If you want to be the clown prince of the NFL, you're well on your way to the Hall of Fame. If you instead, though, would like to be a well thought of NFL quarterback, then start acting like one. And for everyone else that does what Tyrone and I do here, members of the media who comment on this, for any one of you that thinks Shedeur is being screwed by the Cleveland Browns, you've embarrassed yourself.
The truth is, Shedeur doesn't need the media's stamp of approval, not even close. He's already got the crowd's energy, his teammates' full respect, and his father's legacy powering every move he makes. Meanwhile, Dan Orlovsky sitting in that studio, red-faced and restless, ranting about posture and poise like it's breaking news. You can just picture it, Dan pacing around, scribbling wild theories on a whiteboard like he's decoding the Da Vinci Code, trying to uncover the hidden meaning behind Shedeur's silence. What does it mean? He probably yells, while the producers glance at the clock, praying for a commercial break. But the answer's simple. It means nothing. Shedeur doesn't owe anyone an explanation. His game already did all the talking, and that silence? That's the loudest clapback you could ever deliver. But to the talking heads, silence is terrifying because they can't monetize it, can't quote it, can't spin it. So instead, they lose their minds on live TV, loudly, dramatically, and hilariously, while Shedeur sits right at the center of it all, calm as ever, the eye of their media hurricane. Every time they try to tear him down, he levels up sharper. Every time they predict his downfall, he walks out with another win. The cycle repeats like the world's most ridiculous reality show. The media sets the trap, Shedeur ignores it, they explode, and the fans just sit back laughing through the reruns. At this point, it's not sports commentary anymore. It's straight-up performance art. Dan Orlovsky has turned himself into a one-man act called "Why Won't Shedeur Do What I Want?" And the craziest part? The audience can't stop watching.
You're entitled to be whoever you want to be. But just remember this, and this also goes to Coach Prime. Everything that we have seen in the last 3 weeks is some of the reason why teams did not want Shedeur Sanders on their team. Has nothing to do with skill. It has nothing to do with talent. And I think from the optics from fans, people are fans of Shedeur and they want to see him succeed so much, even for our culture. I want Shedeur to succeed.
Dan's frustration keeps the clicks coming, and Shedeur's silence keeps the mystery alive. It's the perfect modern rivalry, not built on words or press quotes, but on the absence of them. And maybe that's the most poetic part of all. Shedeur Sanders doesn't have to shout, pose, or explain a thing. His game talks, his silence echoes, and his haters keep turning up the volume for him. Dan Orlovsky lost it because he finally realized he's not in control of the story anymore. The media flipped again because they can't process a player who refuses to kneel to their script. Through it all, Shedeur stays calm, unbothered, unfiltered, and unintentionally hilarious in how effortlessly he drives everyone around him insane. That's the real power of silence. It doesn't need defense. It doesn't need spin. It just sits there, cool and untouchable, while the loud ones unravel trying to decode it, giving him more spotlight every time. The media can keep flipping sides, Dan can keep losing it, and Shedeur, He'll keep winning, quietly, confidently, and completely on his own terms. If you caught every twist in this saga, drop your thoughts below and hit that like button. Let's talk about who's really playing the smarter game.